You see all these library books right here? I am taking them back. So I'm putting them in this Trader Joe's bag and they are gonna go back to the library. Hey, it's Monica. Welcome to A Year of Living Boldly. So today I wanted to talk about my decision to not read for a month. If you know me at all, you probably know that I am obsessed with books and I love to read. For a summer, I taught reading and I used to open my classes by telling a story about how when I was a girl playing softball, I would have a book with me even during games and I'd be reading in the dugout. And my coach actually had to talk to my mom about it because he didn't think I should be doing that during games. My ideal day consists of me curled up with a book, either at home with my cat or at a coffee shop or at a bookstore or a library. I love being surrounded by books, but I'm not here to tell you all about how much I love books. I'm here to tell you about why I decided to not read any books or really consume much content on the internet. I've decided to take a break for 30 whole days. So why would I do that? Why would someone who is obsessed with reading choose not to read books for a month? When I filmed my most recent video about starting where you are, I realized that one of the things that keeps me stuck and keeps me from starting a lot of the times is my need to have more information, my need to consume. And I think I use this as a way to trick myself into believing that I'm not really ready yet. I'm not prepared enough to start whatever it is I want to start because I need more information. And where do I seek this information? I always seek it outside myself, whether it's in a book or in a podcast or a YouTube video or just searching on Google. My first instinct usually is to look for the answers externally. And even when I'm not particularly needing any specific information, I still tend to fill all my free time with reading and consuming. And it's gotten to the point where it almost feels like an addiction. Like, could I even stop reading if I wanted to? What would my life feel like and be like if I didn't read all the time, if I didn't read at all? So that's why I chose to do an experiment and find out. I'm curious to see if changing this pattern and breaking this habit will actually inspire me to go within myself to find the answers I need. Instead of looking outside for information and inspiration all the time, what if I removed that source and only could look inside myself? What if I had to learn by doing instead of looking up a how-to about it? What if I had to come up with my own ideas instead of constantly consuming others? Sometimes I think we can get information overload and we can get just completely overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge and entertainment and stimulation that we deal with our modern society and social media and the internet, not to mention actual books, which, like I said, I'm pretty obsessed with. But sometimes I feel like we just get so sucked into this cycle of constant consumption, and it really actually could be destructive. I think it sometimes leads us to lose touch with our own wisdom. And not only that, but I think it also can leave us feeling inferior. I wrote about this on my blog a few different times, and I wrote one post called "When Self-Help Turns to Self-Doubt," because I have experienced this at multiple points in my life where I really do feel like I get so addicted to self-help content and it leads me to start doubting myself and to not trust my own intuition and my own wisdom as much. So usually when I start feeling this way, I found it really helpful to just kind of pull back and pause and take a break from consuming so that I can really tune back into myself and focus on my own wisdom. I did this recently just for one full day, 24-hour period where I didn't consume anything. So not only books, but I also didn't consume anything on the internet. And I just took myself out of the house and went to my favorite coffee shop, and I only brought my notebook. And I actually ended up writing some poetry, which I haven't even done in so long. And I just felt this feeling of returning to myself, of peace and of ease, because I wasn't just drowning in information and trying to check my phone every 10 minutes or trying to Google everything I thought of, or basically being stimulated externally. I felt like I was able to be much more present with my environment and my surroundings, and also with myself. And of course, after that 24-hour experiment, I went right back to my usual habits of, watching Netflix, and of course being obsessed with reading and going on a YouTube binge. So even though I had that one day of peace and clarity, it didn't really change my habits overall. And that feeling of overwhelm and anxiety just came right back how it was before. So I decided, since I'm doing a year of living boldly and I'm doing this YouTube channel and I'm here to experiment, why not just put this to the test and give myself a challenge to not read for 30 days, a whole month without turning to my beloved books. It's already been a few days since I decided to do this, and it's honestly been pretty amazing. But I will say that along with that feeling of peace and presence, there also is a little bit of anxiety and fear of missing out. It's almost like there's a void in my life that I intentionally created, but still it feels like there's a void there. And I'm reminded of a poem that I wrote myself a few years ago. It was during another period of my life where a lot of things in my life were changing, and I felt a sort of emptiness, but I decided that I actually wanted to embrace it and welcome that emptiness into my life. So I wrote myself this haiku to express how it felt, and also to inspire myself in how I wanted to handle that. Feel the void and leave it open as long as possible. See what happens. So when I had made that decision to feel the void and leave it open as long as possible and see what happens, I actually had space in my life to let new things come in, to let myself go internally and learn and grow and evolve. And it was a period of intense self-discovery and personal growth for me. There's no guarantee that I'll have that same experience doing this month without reading challenge, but I do think that when we have a void, or we create a void in our lives and we welcome it and invite it to be there, our lives will change in subtle ways or even big transformational ways. So if you're like me and you know what I'm talking about this feeling of kind of anxiety and information overload, and also information addiction, how we can be obsessed with consuming all the time and external stimulation, I invite you to consider doing a similar challenge. Whether you decide to do the 24-hour one like I did at first, where you don't consume anything for 24 hours, or if you want to do something a little more intense and see how that changes your life, you could maybe do a week without reading or consuming. Or if you really want to challenge yourself like me, you could do a 30-day, month-long no reading challenge. Now, I do want to quote my favorite wordsmith, Ralph Waldo Emerson, just because I think he so poetically puts this idea about reading and books. Books are the best of things well used, abused among the worst. What is the right use? They are for nothing but to inspire. Books are for the scholar's idle times, when he can read God directly. The hour is too precious to be wasted in other men's transcripts of their readings. So my hope is that by doing this experiment, I will actually be better able to read God directly in Emerson's words, which to me means being able to sense my own inspiration, be more attuned to my own wisdom and intuition, and look inward to discover my own answers. If this intrigues you, I love to hear if you're gonna join me or what you think about this idea. So leave a comment down below and stay tuned to hear what I discovered, what the outcome was of this challenge for me. Thanks for watching. Let's keep living boldly.